It's Monday, July 10th, 2023, and this is episode 287 of You Can Bet On That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet On That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Mike, it sounds like you and I have both finally returned to the casino after our Biloxi trip.
Yes.
Now, you went to Diamond Joe Worth yesterday?
I went to Diamond Joe Worth yesterday, yes.
How did that go?
Well, I was thinking about going, but I wasn't really committed. And then I got a text early in the morning from our friend Todd, who said that he was going to be there because he had to go down that way to do some work for his mother. And he was thinking about stopping by. And so I thought, oh, okay, I'll go.
So you had to go at that point. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I had to go. Yep. So, we had a good time. It was going, okay. And then it started to turn and it was going bad. And I think Todd was down to, he had made his bets and he had $6 left in front of him. Mm-hmm. And the guy had a big, huge roll. And Todd went home winning about $200 for the day.
Oh, good. Nice recoup.
So,
good.
Yeah, he recovered all of his money plus $200. And he said, well, I got to get down to my mom's. And so it worked out good. And I was up at that point, of course. Then over the course of the rest of the 5 hours or so I was there, I drained it all down. Yeah. But, wasn't terrible. Also, later, just unexpectedly, our friend Neil showed up and played with me. And unfortunately, he got there at the time when things weren't going so well. Yeah. And then I left. I think Neil stayed. So hopefully he recovered some money. But a couple of interesting things. When Todd was rolling, we needed a 6 to make the small.
Oh, wow. It's always kind of interesting when it's a 6 or an 8, right? Yeah.
So he rolls the dice and calls out 4-2. And then sure enough, it was 4-2.
Oh, good.
And yeah, we won the small, which was fun. We never hit the all day, but we must have made about 5 or 6 halves.
Yeah.
It seemed like 2 was always our bugaboo.
Yeah.
We could make 12s, but I think in like 5 or 6 hours I was there were maybe like 3 or 4 2s the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just seemed like 2 was not coming up. And another interesting story, I was playing next to a guy and he, we started talking. His name was Justin, and I guess he is a truck driver and goes all around the country. And he was telling me all about casinos everywhere in this country that he had visited. And, he had some interesting stories. One of the things that I really found interesting, he was telling me that in Oklahoma at Downstream Casino, they do not charge the ante if you have a player's card.
Any player's card?
Well, that's what he said. Now, He was a pretty big gambler. Okay. So
maybe it's a certain tier level.
Yeah, maybe it's the higher tier levels. Yeah. I don't know. But he said that because he mentioned Oklahoma, and I said, I've never been there, but why? Because you have to pay that ante. He said, no, not if you have a player's card. So if anyone knows for sure if that's the case, at least at Downstream Casino, let me know because that's interesting.
So just for people who don't know, if you're playing table games in Oklahoma, they charge you an ante for playing there. And casinos have promotions where it's like no ante today or, no antes on Sunday. Or, if you have a player's card at your certain tier level, they pay the ante for you, that kind of thing. You can definitely look around for deals. But, so at least what you heard from Justin was if you have a player's card at this casino, no ante. That's good.
No ante, yeah. Yeah, he had some interesting casinos. He had been everywhere, like, Dubai and I guess,
wow, that's quite a truck drive.
That is a truck drive, yeah. The tunnel is crazy. But he was very interesting. And he was betting quite heavily, but unfortunately ended up in the same boat as me.
Yeah.
And then the only other funny thing was, on the craps table, one of the dealers, Danny, she was on the other side of the table from me. And at one point she asked me something and I could have swore she said, do you have multicolored hair?
Uh-huh.
And I looked and I said, no, it's all white. She laughed. What she had asked is the person at the cage who had waited on me, who gave me my free play, if it was the girl with the multicolored hair. And it was. There was a girl there. I mean, she had like 8 different colors in her hair. Yeah. But I thought she was asking me, and all the dealers, everybody, we were all just stunned for a second. And then that became the running gag, the whole afternoon.
Yeah. Do you have multicolored hair? That's a good question, Danny.
Hair.
No, I don't. It's all one color, but good question.
I should have said, not on my head.
There you go. Yeah. If only you'd been that quick.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, so that's how my day went. How did your evening go?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Mike. I was still pretty shell-shocked from our gambling experience in Biloxi. I mean, it was bad.
It was bad.
To the point where it's like, wow, I'm not even interested in playing craps anymore.
Right.
But one reason that I went up with Sherry to Harrah's on Friday night. One reason was I had just like a month left before my reward credits would expire. And I have quite a few reward credits still, right? It's, like over $1,000. So I certainly didn't want to lose those. So we went up there. I'm glad we did because, once I started playing, it's like, okay, I'm better now. I think I can play craps again.
Right. Yeah. It's like the hair of the dog that bit you.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Not much has changed. And last time I was there was in February. Without you here, I'm just not going as much.
Yeah, right.
But not too many changes. They did, though, have a crapless craps table. They replaced one of their regular tables with crapless craps.
Interesting.
I walked up to it and said, oh, yeah. And Virginia was the pit boss there. You remember Virginia?
Yes. She's from Minnesota, actually.
That's right. Yeah. So
originally,
I saw, crapless craps. And I said, so when you buy like the 2, 3, 11, and 12, do you have to pay the VIG up front? Do you have to pay the VIG when you make the bet? And she said yes.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, well, okay, never mind. Because I was actually thinking maybe I'd play for a little bit. But no, you got to pay the VIG up front. What a difference that makes. I mean, that's huge.
It's a huge difference.
We've talked about how buying the 2 or 12 on a crapless craps table where you only have to pay the VIG on wins is the best bet on the craps table from a house edge point of view.
Right.
Obviously, except for taking free odds, right? But I mean, it's less than 1%. But when you have to pay the VIG every time you make the bet, it's about 4.76%. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah. So,
you're putting money on a number that's less likely to come up.
Right.
And you're paying that VIG ahead of time. So you're really losing, when it doesn't come up, $31, you have a $30 bet, as opposed to just losing 30, but then when it does come up, you get 6 times and you have to pay only $1.
Right, exactly. We talked about it. There are 7, when you buy the 2, there are 7 outcomes, right? You win, that's just one outcome, or you lose. There are 6 different ways to lose, right? 6 other ways to roll a 7, right? So you're paying $7 on this crapless craps table at Harrah's, whereas you're only paying $1 on most crapless craps tables, right, for all of the outcomes. So, it makes a huge difference. We just played at a regular table, and, it was just up and down, nothing spectacular. I ended up with a small win, and then we went over to Hell's Kitchen and, had another good meal there, and that was it. So, a very good trip up to Harrah's, and so I think I cured my scaredness of the craps table.
You should write a book.
Yeah, I should write
How to cure your scaredness at a craps table. Number 1, New York Times bestseller list, 182 weeks in a row.
Yeah. First of all, you need to go to a craps table and play. That's number 1. I don't know how much more there is in the book. So good. We're back in the casino business. When are you? So everybody was asking about you. When are you coming out here again so you can play up at Harrah's?
We were thinking in September when our daughter goes back to school.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, UCSD. Then we might all fly out there, put her in school, and then, stay a day or two. So.
All right. Well, stay tuned.
So that's tentatively the plan.
Yeah. And we'll let you know when Dr. Mike firms up his
Southern
plans.
California business. Yeah. Business. But Southern California visit plans.
Southern California visit plans. Okay.
Yeah. Also known as Visinus.
All right. You okay this morning? You're good?
I'm wondering.
A little dizzy?
A little dizzy.
Well, we got an email from listener Alfredo. He says, I've always known the big 6 and big 8 bets were bad bets because a place bet pays better. I've learned from your podcast that a $5 horn high ace deuce is also a bad bet because a $4 craps and $1 11 pays better. Are there any other bad bets on the craps table? Because there's another bet with the same results but better payout. And Alfredo, there are a couple. One that comes to mind is that you will get paid more if you hop all the combinations of a 7 rather than bet on the big red, which pays 4-1. Now, there is a caveat here, too. It depends on what that center action payout is. There's some casinos that only pay 15-4-1 instead of 15-2-1.
Correct.
For a hot bet. So it's not going to be every table. But for those better payouts, you're better if you're going to bet a multiple of 3 to make 3 separate hot bets on the 7 than to bet on big red.
Right. The caveats being you have to make a multiple of 3.
Yes.
And that you have to know what the payouts are going to be because, some of those, I hate it when they have the bad, I call them the bad bets.
Right. Yeah. The strip center action payouts, I guess you call it, as opposed to the downtown. If they do have the bad payouts, well, then it actually doesn't matter. You're going to get paid the same amount, whether you bet big red or the hop.
Yeah. And the easiest way to find that out is
look at what hot bets. Yeah, look at what an 11 pays.
Hot bets.
Yeah, well, most casinos do take hot bets, but certainly around here there are some. You said Diamond Joe doesn't take hot bets, but most places do.
Diamond Joe does have hot bets. It's Ho Chunk that doesn't.
Oh, okay. See, I knew you misspoke on an episode a few times back. Where you actually
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did. You said Diamond Joe doesn't take hot bets, and I thought, wow, that's really surprising. I just couldn't figure it out.
No, they do. It's Ho Chunk. It has no hot bets.
All right. Yeah. So, folks, if you've been thinking this whole time, wait a second, I've seen hot bets at Diamond Joe. There you go.
There's some guy who hasn't slept in like 4 months because every night he's just laying there thinking, that's got to be wrong. That's got to be wrong. And, with that kind of sleep deprivation, he's going crazy and everything. Finally, that guy can get some rest.
Yeah, as opposed to, say, calling into the show and saying, you sure that's right?
Yeah. Well, it's Bill. He's shy.
The other bets that you want to make sure you're making as opposed to others are buy bets versus place bets, or place bets versus buy bets, right? In most cases, you're better off placing the 5, 6, 8, and 9. You're better off buying the 4 and 10. It depends on whether you pay the vig up front or not. It depends on how much money you're betting. If you're only making a $5 bet on the 4, well, yeah, place bet's going to be better because otherwise they'll charge you $1, which is 20% vig as opposed to 5% vig. So that's what you have to watch out for. We've seen, certainly out at Harrah's, Mike, we've seen people, $50 4. No, I don't want to buy it. People insisting that it's a place bet, and we can never figure that out. But anyway, that's something, again, you want to be aware of. Are there any other bets that you can think of, Mike, on the table where you should bet one way and not another because the payout's going to be better on the same result?
Not really.
Yeah, I can't think
He did phrase his question very well, though. At first, it was almost sounding like it was going to be like, are there any bad bets on a craps table? And yeah, all of them. But he did phrase it properly, which I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any other bets.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question, Alfredo. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, and we all do, please go to our page first, youcanbetonThat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move on to voicemails. First up is Austin.
Hey guys, this is longtime listener Austin Bluffs. I just got back from my annual trip to Las Vegas for the World Series of Poker with my brother and 2 of his friends. While we were there, we went downtown as we usually do and visited the El Cortez where we like to play blackjack mainly, but this time we also played a little bit of craps. The table had $10 minimums and 10 times odds. The 4 of us bought in for about $200 apiece. Of the 4 of us, I was probably the most conservative, and I started off with $10 pass line bets and place bets on 6 and 8 for $12 a piece, but also threw a 2-1-2 out on the all tall, all small, and make 'em all bonus bets. The table started off very cold, and I was slowly dwindling down from my initial buy-in. Once I got down to about $50 left, I started just making only pass line bets. I finally got down to my final bet, and I didn't plan to rebuy. One of my brother's friends busted out and decided not to rebuy. My brother was all in with the bets he was making and had another buy-in pulled out and ready to go. This is when we started on the heater. The dice passed to me. I had a good roll. It was so good that I actually made the tall, small, and the make 'em all. Not only that, but I made the tall a second time. This didn't help me personally since I wasn't making the bonus bets, but most of the table were making the bets, and including one guy who bought in for about $600 and was putting $5 on all three of the bets. Since I was the most conservative player, I was working my way back to even, but other more aggressive players started winning. When I finally sevened out, the dice passed to one of my brother's friends. He went on to hit the all tall, all small, and make 'em all also. When he sevened out, the dice passed to the guy that had the $600 buy-in. This guy seemed like a pretty experienced craps player and was setting the dice and throwing them. Now this guy proceeded to roll and hit the all tall, all small, and make 'em all also. So that's 3 in a row, not to mention that my roll had also hit the all tall twice. The whole table was hyped up, and the dealers and the box man were all talking about how this was like getting struck by lightning. At this point, everybody colored up. The final result for us was that my brother's buddy who busted out right before the heater ended up busted for his $200 buy-in since he didn't rebuy. I ended up down maybe $20 after coming back on just pass line bets. My brother cashed out for over $1,400, and my brother's other buddy, who is probably the most aggressive of us, cashed out for over $2,000. And we think the guy who did the $600 buy-in cashed out for about $15,000. This is probably the most memorable craps experience I've ever had and probably will have for a while, and I just wanted to share it with you. I have one other comment I'd like to make about this trip. Twice during this trip, once from a poker dealer and once from one of the initial dealers in this crap session, made the comment, "Don't forget to tip your dealers." I think the poker dealer made this statement as he was being replaced by another dealer because a couple of the players at the table weren't tipping the dealer. The dealer in the crap session that I played seemed out of line to me because he was on the crew that was initially there when the table was cold and nobody was making any money. I just wanted to bring this up because when I first started going to Vegas about 15 years ago, I always heard that hustling for tokes was basically a gaming violation in Las Vegas, and I never really heard dealers asking outright to be tipped. I know this is probably consistent with the culture of being asked more often from all service industries for tips everywhere in America these days, but I think it is distasteful to hear it from the gaming industry that probably does fairly well on tips compared to other services. I'd be interested on your thoughts on that. Thanks for the show, guys.
Yeah, tip hustling, we don't know of any law or gaming regulation against it, but it certainly is against casino policy for a lot of properties. And yeah, dealers should not be doing it, should not be hustling for tips or even really mentioning it.
Right. Well, and here's why. Let's say, I'm dealing, I just walked onto a table and there's a big roll and, nobody tipped. Well, I don't know if these people had lost a bunch of money before then,
right,
or the night before they got wiped out, or, you don't know other people's situations. So yeah, they didn't tip. Well, maybe they had some reason they couldn't, right? Maybe they wanted to, but gosh, I'm down so much money. I need every dime now. Yeah, it's just rude. I mean,
well, especially in Austin's case where the table was cold at the time and the dealer actually said something. It's like, what? Yeah, that would rub me the wrong way too.
As far as Austin's story, that is like getting struck by lightning.
Oh, can you imagine, Mike, if you'd been on that table, 3 shooters in a row, all hitting the all?
That would have been very, very, very nice.
Well, Austin,
even if they didn't repeat a number, they just hit them all.
Yeah. Austin, right? We're sad that you actually didn't win for that session, even though it's a really good story. But good for you for kind of staying conservative and just saying, hey, I don't want to lose more.
Right. And that story could go the other way too, right? He stays conservative and his brother's friend that was really aggressive gets wiped out and he slowly inches his way back, right? Yeah. But as far as being hit by lightning, the saying is, which really isn't true, that lightning never strikes twice in the same place.
Right.
So I guess Austin should retire from craps.
Because it's never going to happen again.
Never going to happen again.
Right.
Unless lightning does strike in the same place more than once, which it does.
So you're saying El Cortez is where we should exclusively play craps from now on because it's more likely to have three shooters in a row hit the all?
It's more likely. Or it's less likely. I don't know.
The gambler's fallacy.
Yeah, right. Well, it's like in The World According to Garp.
Oh, yeah. I always think about that, right? Where the plane crashes.
I'll take it.
The chance of it happening again. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, well, it's probably pretty good. They're probably near an airport. It probably is going to, the house is going to get hit again.
Right. It's obviously in a flight path. And I'll take it. They look at me, what? Well, it's never going to happen again.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Next call.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick in Kalamazoo. Just want to give you a quick trip report from Biloxi. It seems like that's where everybody's heading to. We went down on an MGM junket for 3 days, 4 nights, however that works out. Stayed at the Beau Rivage, as you would expect. Didn't play much there personally. Their craps tables were 25 pretty much the entire time I was there, including the crapless table. The wife did play some slots. I played some poker and did not have the best luck. Lost out in a turbo tournament with pocket aces. Played some cash games, lost with aces again, and then finally recouped my money just on, a good hand that I finally decided to bet. Craps-wise, we spent most of our time over at the Palace, which you've heard from other callers. My favorite place to play down there. Smoke-free, definitely the best buffet in Biloxi. And about everything is $10. The 3-card, Mississippi Stud, Pai Gow, which we played for quite some time on $10. You can sit with $120 for quite some time. And then, of course, played some craps. And I was looking at my pictures and had 3 really good crap sessions, with one being the best one I've had yet. I already was down $200 on some not great rolls. Got down to that last magical $100, right? And that's where all the fun starts. Guy walks up to the table, dice get passed to him, and he starts rolling. And I'm playing my normal 3 numbers, 6, 8, 9 for minimum, collect, press, and then just start pressing 1 unit every time. And eventually, after some time, I'll place the 5, and then if we really get going, the 4 and the 10, right? And he proceeds to roll for a while, hit a couple points, and I start playing the pass line, and then I kind of notice that I have quarters on everything, right? So that's pretty exciting. Got some money on my rack. He must have been rolling for about 40 minutes or so, and then there was a full shift change. So all the dealers left the table, all new dealers came in, panic ensued, everybody's turning their bets off. I don't like to turn my bets off, so instead I took some money off the table. I took about $200 off the table and just said, let's go 135 across. And then he just kept hitting points, and hitting numbers. And eventually I had that 10 up to $75. It was just one of those rolls that you're like, man, I should never have taken money off the table. I walked away with almost $1,400, starting that roll with about 100. So, massive roll. I ran out of room in my rack with the $5 chips, and then I collared up and got out of there. About 10 minutes later, the shooter walked back by, and he's like, yeah, good thing you left. The next 5 shooters were just terrible, right? So this is the first time we've gone on a trip in a while and actually came back positive, so that was exciting. Wife did really well the last 2 days playing slots. I did pretty well playing table games. Glad you got a chance to go down and experience Biloxi. I think it's a great place to go, and it's starting to become our alternative to Vegas just because everything's so expensive. We like to get off the strip, so you talked about, wow, you can't find a $10 Pai Gow table. I'll do you one better. If you go to the Cannery, which is on the north side of Las Vegas, when we were there last year in September, $5 Pai Gow table. You could sit on $100 and have 4 or 5 drinks and play forever. And it is fun, and they have really good dealers. So thank you for the content. Glad you guys are back. Look forward to the show every time it drops. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so there you go. If you're willing to go off strip, $5 Pai Gow poker. It's like a dinosaur. I wouldn't think that any casino would offer it, even the Sawdust joint, but that's great.
They're giving away money there. They are going to go out of business.
That's right.
2 things I got to say about Nick's call. number one, he said Biloxi's the place to go to now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think a lot of people are catching on. There's quite a few casinos there, and it's not as, maybe as ritzy as Vegas with all the lights and all that and everything, but there are lower limits, and the people are very nice.
Yeah,
and,
it's more gambling friendly than the Strip in Las Vegas.
Right, a lot more gambling friendly.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going for shows and whatever, then yeah, Vegas is a little nicer.
Right.
But if you're definitely going for gambling, Biloxi's a very good place to go.
Yep.
But also, maybe it's popular now because we went there and we're talking about it. Because when we were talking about North Carolina, the Harrah's there, everyone was talking about that.
Yeah.
When we went to Connecticut there, everyone was talking about that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's us, Mark.
Maybe.
So I was telling Lynn that the other night. I said, I think it's Mark and I. And, I said, I'm an influencer. Her response was, the only thing you're influencing is the sewer system here in town.
Oh, yikes. It's a small town. Yeah.
It's a small town. Yeah. I think I'm having an impact.
Yeah. You might be overestimating the reach of our show, but I have no way to disprove what you're saying. So there you go.
Yeah. What else can you say? You just have to go with it.
Yeah, I got to go with it.
The other thing was when he was talking about, of course, when the guy was down to his last, few dollars, that's when the big roll comes. Maybe that's my new strategy. I can't really do it, at like Diamond Joe, but if I'm in Vegas where there's a lot of casinos, maybe I just walk around looking for a table where there's some guy down to his last few dollars that looks lucky.
Okay, I see. So you're just looking for a rack that has just like a couple of white chips in it. Something like that, right? And you're thinking, okay,
and
this guy's desperate.
Lucky. The guy's got to look lucky, like he's going to make a comeback.
He's got to look lucky, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like that theory that play the slot machine with the chair pushed in because the casino doesn't really want you to play that one. That's why they push the chair in.
Yeah.
Remember that theory?
I sure do.
Yeah, maybe it's the same as that.
All right. So you're heading down a completely different gambling philosophy is what you're saying.
Right. My new book, How to Win in Vegas. It's just look for a guy who's lucky. Doesn't have much money in front of him, but definitely going to make a comeback.
What's a lucky guy look like? You just have to know, okay?
Yeah, I'm explaining it. Well, it's not that hard. Look, both socks match.
All right. Next up is Steve.
Hey guys, it's Steve from Phoenix, Arizona. A longtime caller, first-time listener, and a relatively new gambler with a trip report and a bit of a philosophical question. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the Cliff Castle Casino in northern Arizona. They have 2 hotel buildings, the Lodge, which is an older motel style down the hill from the casino, and then a new tower they built adjacent to the casino. Really nice amenities, clean room, indoor pool. It really had a family vibe with a bowling alley and arcade attached, even though the selection of the games and prizes was kind of sparse. We tried the buffet for dinner because we went for a weekend. It was honestly mediocre. The dessert selection was good, but some of the food seemed to be left out or not refreshed as often as it should be. We tried the cafe for breakfast, but that was exceptional. The breakfast sandwiches were really good, and I expected little small hand-sized waffles when I saw the price, but instead you got traditional, like, real thin waffles that you get from a regular restaurant. The Players Club was decent. They provided a $10 free play bonus to new members when they signed up, and the day we went, they had a Plinko-style drawing every hour to win more free play. No luck, but that's fine. This is the first casino I've been to that has self-serve drinks, which was actually a pretty nice surprise. The whole casino was non-smoking except for a designated room with automatic doors, so I made the mistake of walking past once. Felt like you could secondhand smoke a whole cigarette just from walking by and the doors opening and closing. They had a small pit that was pretty busy, had 3-2 blackjack, Spanish 21, high card flush, and that ultimate Texas Hold'em. I can't think of the name of. $5 roll to win craps tables. That was really busy all night. I didn't play any of the table games because while I was watching a Plinko session, some pit staff were talking behind me, and I heard something about some suspicious activity happening on the table. I'm not sure if it was collusion or something, maybe card counting, but they seemed to be upset with one of the blackjack tables. So this kind of brings me to my question. I played with some family members on the machines, but I just don't feel comfortable playing slots very much. It's not a factor of not having a bankroll or not being able to risk losing the money. It's just kind of the psychological feeling of sitting down the machine and feeling like you're throwing away your money. I know it's supposed to be entertainment, like you would pay for a movie or an experience, but I just think of how the money could be used in other ways. Putting $100 into the slot machine, I think of how I could pay for 2 video games and I'd have something to show for it. I feel like I have trouble committing to gambling, especially on a slot machine or even some of the table games. Do you have any suggestions on how to get more comfortable gambling? Maybe it's a mindset I need to get into, or maybe I need to think of a different way of playing. I'd like to know your thoughts. Have a good day. See you around the casinos.
Yeah, gosh, Steve. I don't know that we like the idea of trying to get somebody more comfortable with gambling. If it's something...
It's something you have to, your personality...
Yeah, you kind of have to be wired for it already.
Yeah, you have to gravitate to that.
And if you're thinking, oh, gosh, here's $100 I could have used to actually buy something rather than just lose it like that. Yeah, I mean, that's a legitimate thought.
That's actually a good thought, but
yeah.
I can only think of one thing to cure that.
Cure it? Okay, go ahead.
Yes. I've actually stolen this from our good friend Paul.
All right.
He would always, say, well, you got to gamble so you can win more than your $100. And then you can take that winnings and buy a lifetime supply of something. You weren't putting that $100 in just to lose it. You were putting it in so that you could buy a lifetime supply of mustard.
Yeah.
Or toilet paper, or things that you can store that won't go bad. Or if you need a new TV or dishwasher or whatever it is. So you're taking a risk, kind of like the stock market, in order to have a better future.
Okay. Fine.
How's that sound?
Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to add any more to that. Because, Steve, we probably could come up with a lot of suggestions for you to get more comfortable gambling, but at least I'd feel guilty about trying to convince you to gamble more, because it's one of those things where, we do it for entertainment. It's something that we like. It's something that's a hobby. And if in the back of your mind you're thinking, oh, gosh, look at what else I could have done with this money, good for you. Continue down that path. So, yeah.
It's funny, though. You can kind of say that about anything, right? I mean, everyone has their thing. My father-in-law loved to golf. He golfed every single day.
Sure, it's entertainment.
And that's a lot of money he put into golfing.
Right.
That was his hobby. He got a lot out of it. But, he probably thought at some point, gosh, I'm losing a few $100s a day. Maybe I should have put that away for something else. But, no, because that's what made him happy.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't make you happy putting that 100 in the slot machine, do not put the 100 in the slot machine.
Yeah.
As far as Cliff Castle Casino, I've been there. The gaming floor was pretty small, if I remember correctly. But, yeah, it was nice. It was clean. He said there's a new tower, which wasn't there when I went. But, yeah, it was. The kids were little, and we went to, Grand Canyon, and we drove all around that area. And go see the cliff dwellings there. Are really cool. Yeah.
All right. Next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Jeremy from Utah, your unofficial, unpaid correspondent and gambling expert. And I had to call in and talk about a caller from your last show who called in and described how Dr. Mike stole 3 minutes of his life that he'll never get back with his long, drawn-out diatribe of why it was so much more important to hit the back wall on a craps table on a cruise ship as opposed to a craps table on a land-based casino. And then I couldn't stop laughing when not but a few moments later, we had a caller who called in describing, and I believe seriously so, you couldn't possibly figure out why casinos didn't create an expensive system from the ground up, which put a display on the table that tracked the cocktail waitresses via RFID to determine which direction they were coming from and how close they were, so that the crew could pull the dice into the middle and, of course, stop the game while the cocktail waitresses showed up so that it wouldn't cause a 7-out. And I think that's I can't figure out why casinos don't do that, create an expensive system to slow down their game so they make less money to track the cocktail waitresses. And I just couldn't stand how funny that was. And I had to call in and say something about it. Love the show. You guys are doing great. We'll talk to you soon. Adios.
Well, like we said, when we have our casino, it's going to be a huge display, letting you know everything that's going on at the craps table, when to call your bets off.
Big attention, craps table 809, waitress approaching.
We're going to have the slowest craps game of any casino anywhere. All right, dice out. No, something's about to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeremy. Mark and I, besides our work and our family, the rest of our life has been on crazy talk.
Yeah, I think so.
Would you say that's right?
Yeah, crazy talk and things that if other people are listening, it's like, oh, will you shut up?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's mostly just to drive people crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been my goal.
You certainly do it on purpose. All right, let's hear from our buddy Neil.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Neil from Lakeville, Minnesota. Just calling with a trip report to a couple casinos that I went to recently. First one was St. Croix Casino in Turtle Lake, Wisconsin. The interesting thing about that casino is they also had a rule where at the craps table, if both dice don't touch the back wall, it's automatically a no roll. It didn't seem to matter if the person was setting the dice or throwing them from the far end. Whatever happened, if the dice didn't touch the back wall, it was just a no roll. The crew didn't seem to really care much about it. They never said anything about passing the dice or anything like that, but a few no rolls happened throughout the night. Then the second casino I stopped at a couple weeks later was the Horseshoe down in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Got to play some craps down there. They had a $15 minimum game. And one thing that was interesting there is that they automatically allowed you to buy the 4 and 10 for $15. So nice little extra payout on those numbers. Thanks again for the show. Enjoy all your podcasts and keep it up. Dr. Mike, hope you're feeling better, and we'll see you at Diamond Joe soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right. Well, thank you, Neil. And you did see him yesterday.
Did see him yesterday, yeah. He was talking about that, while we were playing, about must hitting the back wall. And, several of the players and the dealer that was on the table at that time, they all had comments about that. But, it's just funny. That's become a big thing now.
I understand casinos, they definitely want a random roll, but they also want a fast game. So if it's slowing down the game too much, I don't know. Maybe it's just more about training the dealers to watch for cheating, dice sliding, that kind of thing.
Right. I would think that at a casino with a dealer who's, say, been doing it for a few years and a pit boss that's been there for a while, they would be able to tell somebody who was on purpose doing things or trying in some way to dice slide or cheat or whatever. I mean, you'd think they'd have the intuition to pick that out.
Yeah.
Or at least be suspicious of somebody who was.
Yeah.
So if some old guy rolls the dice down there and they don't hit the back and he's obviously not up to anything, they would just let that go. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we kind of beat that to death. Hitting the back wall. Yeah, it's going to be a thing at some places. All right, next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Ethan from Virginia. I wanted to tell you about a crazy blackjack story that happened while I was playing with my friend Todd up at the Horseshoe Casino in Baltimore. This old man walked up to the table. He did not sit down. He did not buy in. He just leaned over the back of the chair and started watching the action. And within 2 hands, he started offering my friend Todd unsolicited advice. Normally, we would just ignore these folks, and after a while, you'd think the guy would take a hint. But he didn't. He just kept saying, increase your bet, take away chips. He would call out for him to stay on 16s against dealer overs. And at one point, Todd had a 16 versus a dealer 9. And the guy said, you should surrender. And Todd doesn't normally surrender, but he did this time. And then right as Todd was drawing the line, he did say and announce surrender to the dealer. The guy says, but the dealer doesn't have it, and you should play the hand. And sure enough, the dealer flipped over an 8 underneath for a dealer 17. And the next card out of the shoe was a 3. So Todd would have actually hit his 16 to a 19 and beaten the dealer's 17. And the old man exclaimed, "See, I told you the dealer didn't have it." And at this point, I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, "Sir, if you're going to stand here and continue to give unsolicited advice, can you at least stick with your advice? You told him to surrender, and then as soon as he announced surrender, you said, 'Oh, but the dealer doesn't have it, and you should have hit.'" And the man looked at me and he says, "Son, I've been playing blackjack for a long time. So I built a house playing blackjack." He said, "It's all about pattern recognition. It's all about algorithms." And, I said, "Well, if you're so great at blackjack and such a great coach, why aren't you playing and taking the house for all their money if you have it all figured out?" And he said, "Well, I'm in the Baccarat tournament. We're just on dinner break." So shortly after this interaction, Todd started to go on quite a heater, was winning a few hands in a row. And I started giving him old advice very, very loudly. If Todd won a hand, I would say, "See, genius." And so we started, just basically we were either geniuses or idiots, and we were exclaiming this on every single hand. The pit boss was chuckling about it, and it was pretty funny. But I was curious what you guys would have done in that situation with someone who just, all their advice had to be exactly correct, and they wouldn't tolerate any pushback. I do plan on heading out to Las Vegas here, and I'm going to be playing in the WSOP Colossus event. I know it's probably not the greatest field to enter with something like 14,000 people, but would be very interesting if I can actually make a deep run as sort of a bachelor party thing with some friends. So hope you all are doing well, and I will give you guys a call back to let you know how the WSOP goes. Thanks.
All right. So, Ethan, we're looking forward to that call. He did email and say that he got knocked out of the tournament. I think he had trips and lost to a straight or something like that. I'm not sure how deep he went into it. Yeah, if there was someone like that at the table, I'd certainly ignore them initially, I would hope. And then if it just kept going and was just getting annoying, I might ask the person to leave or say, "Hey, either play or walk away," or I don't know. Yeah,
well, I would think the dealer would have said something.
Well, maybe, but I mean, the guy, he's being kind of annoying, but he's not doing anything wrong, right? I mean, like against, other than annoying casino patrons. But we've all dealt with people like that who, no matter what happens, they're sure that they're right. They've got an excuse for everything. Oh, well, the reason, he busted is because they've just got all these theories and no theory is ever wrong, no matter what kind of evidence there is to dispute it.
Well, especially if you're saying it in hindsight.
Right. And it sounds like a lot of that was what the guy was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hindsight. Well, I would have said something mean to the guy after a while. I would have said, "Hey, I'm playing here. Please be quiet." Or, he was actually leaning on the chair, he said, too.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was just standing behind him. I mean, I can just see that, the guy leaning over, looking at your cards, and I don't know.
And, what's this guy's motive? Well, he just wants attention is what he wants, right? He's saying, "I built a house from blackjack." Okay, well, so what? Do you think you're helping us here? Is that your motive? No, you just want to let everybody know how great you are.
Right. It's just, I had built a house too. I just worked really hard every day. Everyone's got a way. That would have been annoying. That would have been annoying.
Yeah. Well, at least they had some fun with it afterwards, after he left and just, "See, I told you." All right. Next call.
Hey, this is Luke in Tampa. I was listening to last week's show, and the Mississippi sports betting thing came up, and it shows how fractured the sports betting laws are in the United States right now. Mississippi and Tennessee have the two worst laws. It's one of the only two states where you have to be on property to actually make the bet, and they've only got 2 mobile options on top of that. 28 state casinos and only 2 mobile options, and yet you still have to be on property to use those mobile apps, which is ridiculous. Not quite as ridiculous as the king of sports betting, Las Vegas, Nevada, which is no longer the king of sports betting. It hasn't been for a long time, but it's not even in the top 10 now in the United States. The real heart of sports betting went offshore many years ago, but now it's really located in New Jersey. New Jersey has the best option, the most player-friendly options. They have things like the horse betting exchanges. They're innovative. They've got everything. Like, you can sit in a hotel room. You can sit in a Courtyard Marriott and have a more pleasant, higher EV experience as a gambler in Parsippany, New Jersey than you can in what used to be the Mecca, Las Vegas, Nevada. I just recently came back from the World Series of Poker Seniors Week, which I love more than anything. It was such a putrid experience, and the customer service is so bad. The value to the gambler is so bad that I just left early. I didn't even stick around for the bracelet event because it was so bad. The only exception to this being the Wynn and Resorts World. I left the future part of the Strip where the World Series is located to go up to the Wynn, and for 2 days I had such a great experience up at the Wynn and Resorts World. I won't go into all the details. Everybody knows the Wynn is an amazing experience. It gets the best publicity, but it really is all the way down to the drinks they serve to poker players, even like for free. Carrot juice, the watermelon juice. It's worth going up there just for that alone. But I wanted to say one last thing before I hang up, and that is I was playing next to a player, a well-known poker player, who told me about a perk. He's a 7 Stars member, and he was grandfathered in for 100 times odds at the Cromwell. No matter what it is, 3, 4, 5, it doesn't matter. He gets 100 times odds as soon as he presents his card, which, despite recent discussion on this show, is one hell of a perk. And I just want to know if you guys have ever heard that. Thank you.
No, that is news to us. Had you heard that, Mike?
No, I have not. I'd like to test that out.
Yeah, if anybody, so Luke heard this secondhand. If anybody has firsthand experience, or you're in Vegas soon and you go to Cromwell and you're 7 Stars, see if they will give you 100 times odds. That's interesting. And we've talked about that. 100 times odds, once you get past like 10 times odds, for most of us, it doesn't really matter. But Mike, for a player like you, where sometimes you may even take advantage of 100 times odds. Yeah, that's significant.
Right. That's significant. I was thinking about that a while back. I mean, the casino must realize that most people aren't going to take 100 times odds.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing really to be afraid about. But I was thinking maybe the casino doesn't like to put that 100 times. Maybe it scares some people away. You know how people are intimidated by, that's out of my limit, or, it's kind of an intimidation thing. Maybe that seeing just 100 times odds makes people intimidated.
I think that would not be the case for most people. But Mike, that actually might affect you, because I know you feel pressure to take full odds.
Right. Well, but someone
so I think it would scare you more than anybody else.
Well, somebody who's not an experienced craps player might not understand that you don't have to take 100 times odds.
I don't know.
See that sign and think, ooh,
Yeah, I think that's a stretch, Dr. Mike.
You think so?
I think so, yeah. But,
all right. Well, if anyone is scared by 100 times odds sign, let me know.
Okay. Please call in. We actually got quite a lot of feedback from people about, in particular, Mississippi, and how you have to be inside a casino to use the sports betting app for that casino. And specifically, it was Beau Rivage and the MGM Sports app. And Mike, you were even wondering, can you be in the vicinity? We got a lot of feedback. People say, no, you have to be in the casino. Like if you're in a restaurant there, it won't work. If you're up in your room, it won't work. So it has to be there. And of course, it seems kind of silly. It's like, well, what's the point of having a mobile app if you're in the casino and you just can go up to the sports book and make your bet? I don't know. Maybe there's some stuff you can do on the app, lower limits or whatever, but yeah, again, all they're doing is following the law, but it does seem silly.
I thought that law was intended so that some guy can't sit in his house in his recliner and just make sports bets all day and lose all of his money and, have a terrible life or something. So they were going to kind of limit it to like you had to be on a property to bet.
You might be right that the legislature, that was their motivation. But there are plenty of examples. He's saying like New Jersey, you can be at your home in your recliner and lose all your money, right? That's an option there.
But I don't understand why any legislature or even the common man would think that's a good idea. No, I can't sit in my lounge chair and lose all my money. I have to go to the casino and lose all my money where there's more ways to lose it. So I can make my sports bets and then play craps and blackjack and roulette. Isn't that
Are you just
your argument?
Are you just questioning people's thought processes? Is that what
I mean, it makes no sense for the legislator to pass a law that says you have to be in the casino because you're going to lose more money then. You're going to make your sports bets and play other things.
All right. Yeah. I can't really debate with you, how people think, but
yeah,
there you go. All right. Well, we've got some more voicemails, but let's hold off until next episode for some of them. Let's do one more, though. Uncle Jackie.
Hello, it's Uncle Jackie calling back in. I'm glad that my concept of dressing poorly at park is catching on. Well, it's good to hear that's got some legs. I was recently out staying at park and took advantage of the MGM Tier Point Accelerator in order to achieve platinum status. There's no way I would have made it as quickly without that accelerator. It was really a tremendous offer from MGM. So what's really great now is now that I have platinum status, I get to skip the lines, at Salt and Ivy, Cadell, Bordeaux, and various nice restaurants at MGM, all dressing poorly. So it's great while you have people waiting in line for 45 minutes for a $100 breakfast. You have somebody like me who dresses poorly, skips right by you, and gets right in to sit down. So that's a good time. And also, in your last episode, Dr. Mike mentioned that he might have a couple thousand T-shirts and needs to get rid of some. So I'm going to introduce you to another concept that goes along with dressing poorly, which is when I go to Vegas, I leave what I call walk-off clothes. So the clothes that I'm wearing, the last time I wear them is going to be on that trip in Vegas, and then I throw them out while I'm in Vegas. So T-shirts, socks, underwear, a pair of shorts, crappy old cargo shorts. I wear those on the plane, wear them once in Vegas, and I throw them away. So that's walk-off clothes is a concept that now you can add to dressing poorly in Vegas because you're wearing your crappiest clothes already, and they ain't coming home with you. And good luck, guys. 10-4.
Now, what do you think of that, Dr. Mike? Walk-off clothes.
Walk-off clothes. I love that. My mother-in-law had a friend who went on a trip to Europe, and he packed his suitcase with walk-off clothes.
Yeah.
But he went so extreme, Mark. He had it planned out each day, and then he would throw those clothes in the hotel where he was at. It was one of these like tour things. Mm-hmm. So there's a different hotel in every city and stuff. So he would just throw the stuff, and then the next morning dress in the clothes he was going to throw away that night. Mm-hmm. And he had taken like a couple of books to read like on the plane and stuff and everything. And as he would read a page, he would tear it out and throw it away.
Now, that I don't understand.
I don't understand. Because he could just leave the book.
Yeah, right. How does that tear the page out? It's too much work.
It's just less to carry. He's not reading the book every day. So the next day, the book weighed lighter, right? He came home with nothing, and he had taken an old suitcase. So on the very last day, he just left that, got on the plane, and came home.
All right. It's not a bad idea. And shoot, if you end up bringing more stuff home, souvenirs and that kind of thing, you've got room in your suitcase.
You have room in your suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah, walk-off clothes.
That's good.
I mean, we should get together with Uncle Jackie and make this like a business. We sell you walk-off clothes.
Like really cheap clothes.
Really cheap
the kind
clothes.
of thing that's, hey, it's going to fall apart after one wear only anyway.
Yeah, there's no reason to wash it.
Right,
yeah.
That's right.
But, they'll look nice enough or just okay.
I think I've done the walk-off clothes thing in the past. That wasn't my initial intent. I had to.
Yeah,
if you know what I'm saying.
I've been there, Mark. I've done that many a time. We had a friend, you didn't know him, Mark, who worked with us in the restaurant in San Diego. And on his last night, he took all of his attire that we had to wear there at that restaurant, took it off, threw it on the roof of the building, went home in his underwear, just his underwear. All of it, shoes, socks, pants, vest, shirt, everything. And the funniest thing was about, over a year later, one day, we were just looking up there and there his clothes still were. That's a walk-off. I like to go to casinos in comfortable clothes.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. People get dressed up and everything, I'm comfortable in a T-shirt and shorts, except I think from now on when I go, I am going to leave my clothes there and just return home in my underwear every time.
Okay. Please let us know when that happens. Maybe get a video of it. Not that I want to see it, but at least we have the video as proof if I have to testify in court at some point. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, we want to thank some people for some recurring donations. Jeremy at the Color Up YouTube channel. James and Kurt. Thank you very much for those recurring donations. We also got a donation from Jeff F. Thanks for a great show. Well, thank you, Jeff. Also a donation from Ethan. He didn't leave a message, but we heard from him earlier in the show. Also a donation from Rev Dan from Tulsa. Karma donation for first ever trip to M Resort in Vegas. My wife is a big YouTuber, C Mindy Mom, and I've been nagging her for years to accept donations. She still doesn't, but glad you all do. Love the show. Well, thank you, Rev Dan.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, also a donation from Craig. Karma donation for a July Vegas trip. My worlds will collide as my wife is joining me and will finally see the craps player version of me. On the plus side, she'll be a first-time shooter, so that's a guaranteed win. Thanks for the great show. Oh, well, good luck. Yeah, it's always
good luck.
When you take your spouse, you never know, right? You know, they may
Right.
really love it. They may be indifferent to it, but yeah, good luck, Craig.
She might see the dark side of Craig and what have I done?
Also, a donation from our good friend Kevin. This is for you in case casinos go out of business. Oh, yeah, that's a real issue these days. So, yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Kevin liked the fact that they're going out of business.
Yeah, that's why, they got to have these bad rules. Also, a donation from Ben. Thank you, Mark and Dr. Mike, for a great podcast. Well, thank you, Ben. And finally, a donation from our friend Todd Goddess. Thanks for all the great episodes and for meeting me at Diamond Joe's Dr. Mike. Put this donation towards some multicolored hair color. Oh, there you go. So I'll send that to you, Dr. Mike, so you can get your hair colored.
They have a thing that you can put on your hair where it just comes out multicolored?
Yeah, that's what it does. Yeah.
Wow.
You just put it on there.
I thought you had to do each individual piece.
No, it's like tie-dye.
What happened to you? I had my head tie-dyed. That's what happened.
Looks good, Dr. Mike. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listing showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings and our list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Oh, and Threads at YouCanBetOnThat4. Anyway, Threads. Okay. Don't look for many posts from us there. We're going to wait to see how that pans out. And finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review of the show. We love getting your feedback. Dr. Mike, what do you have for our listeners?
Now, I was just thinking here, Mark, we have pretty fun lives.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
we always seem to have a good time. I go to the casino. I always have a good time. Last night, it was after Todd had left and Neil and I were there. Somebody said something like, having a good time. And some other, crabby person said, oh, it's better when you're winning. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I have a good time no matter what. I mean, sometimes I do get a little pensive when I'm not winning, but I still am having a good time.
Yeah, well, we've seen plenty of players who seem like they're in a bad mood. Gambling is their thing, but they seem like they're in a bad mood the whole time they're gambling. We see that a lot. I kind of understand that personality, but it's too bad.
It is. It's too bad. I mean, even when I'm losing and I'm thinking, oh, God, this is going terrible, somebody will say something funny or make some joke about my hair color. and I just, it just sets me off. It gets me going. My advice is be happy.
Oh, well, that's great advice, Mike. It's not as easy for a lot of people. Be happy, but...
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's something everybody should work on, just making themselves happy in a good way.
Make them happy in a good way. So not happy like in I like serial killing people way.
Right.
Very good. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Good night.
Oh, Adam, the installation guys called. They can meet you at 9 tomorrow.
Okay, great. Oh, no. That's not going to work. We need to buy my lottery tickets at 9. That's my lucky time.
How is it lucky if you've never won?
Every time I don't win, I'm building up my luck. That's how it works.